Lily dreamed of being treated as part of the family, but she only received scorn. On her brother's birthday, while everyone laughed, took photos, and sang "Happy Birthday," she was kneeling, cleaning the dirty party floor, until her grandfather arrived and saw everything. The sweet smell of freshly baked cake from the bakery filled the entire house. Colorful balloons decorated the walls, and the tables were covered with savory snacks, sweets, and sodas. It was Ethan's birthday. He was the youngest son of Sarah and Mark, Lily's parents, or rather just her biological parents, because Lily received no love. At just 8 years old, Lily already understood she didn't belong in that scene. She knew that day everyone would smile, take photos, and hug Ethan while she would remain in a corner, or worse, with a cleaning rag in hand, wiping away the marks of someone else's party. Her room was a corner of the laundry area, a makeshift bed set up with a thin, stained foam mattress on the cold floor. Clothes were piled in a corner, while in her siblings' closet, organized hangers held new, colorful, clean clothes. Lily always silently observed the blatant favoritism in the house. Sarah, her mother, seemed to completely forget her when Ethan and Olivia were around. Olivia, at 12, the oldest daughter, was the princess. Ethan, at 5, the prince. And Lily merely existed, or rather, was remembered when she needed to clean, serve, or disappear from the guest's sight. That Saturday, movement in the house started early. Sarah was euphoric, arranging the details of Ethan's party. The building's party hall had been decorated with a superhero theme. Mark supervised the sound while Olivia made videos for social media, showing off the luxurious setting. And Lily received the task that always fell to her, helping with cleaning, carrying bags, organizing what no one else wanted to do. "See that you don't embarrass me today, Lily," Sarah said, giving her an icy stare. "You already bother this family too much, Lily." Lily lowered her head, her stomach churning. She was wearing old clothes that had belonged to Olivia years ago. The faded t-shirt and worn shorts barely disguised the difference between her and her siblings. When they arrived at the hall, guests were already starting to appear. Aunts, cousins, neighbors, all with wide smiles and phones in hand, ready to capture every moment. Lily huddled in a corner, observing everything. She knew she wasn't welcome in the photos. She was already used to being ignored in family pictures. The cake table was a spectacle in itself. The three-tiered cake, the finely arranged sweets, the shining decorations. Ethan ran around the hall, smiling and being flattered by everyone. Lily looked at the cake and felt her stomach ache. It wasn't just hunger, it was emptiness, loneliness, rejection. She remembered the times she dreamed of having a party. She didn't even need luxury. Just a simple candle, a small cake, a hug, but it never happened. While everyone was having fun, Sarah approached her holding a cleaning rag and a bucket. The waiter had spilled soda near the cake table. "Go clean it up," she ordered, without lowering her voice, without caring who heard. Lily felt her face burn with shame. She looked around, her cousins laughing, her aunts whispering. She wanted to disappear, but she knew that if she disobeyed, the consequences at home would be worse. She picked up the bucket and the rag and walked to the middle of the hall. She knelt near the decorated table among balloons and expensive ornaments and began to clean the floor while guests watched her, some laughing, others simply ignoring. The worst was yet to come. The DJ announced, "Happy birthday." The music started. Everyone gathered around the cake table. Ethan was placed in the center with a superhero crown on his head, surrounded by smiling people, phones recording the moment. And Lily, still kneeling with the soaked rag in her hands, trying to clean the floor while everyone's voices echoed in the hall. "Happy birthday to you, dear one." She lowered her head, eyes welling up, felt the looks of scorn, heard the giggles. It was as if she was exposed, humiliated, invisible, and at the same time being ridiculed in front of everyone. That's when someone appeared from the other side of the hall. It was her grandfather, Mr. Thompson. a man with a serious expression but a fair gaze. For a long time, he had suspected things in that house, but he had never seen anything as explicit as that scene. He walked slowly, his eyes fixed on his granddaughter kneeling on the floor while everyone sang "Happy Birthday" to Ethan. Lily's heart pounded when she saw her grandfather approaching. He looked at her, and for the first time, she felt that someone truly saw her. The hall still echoed with the lively music. The birthday song had ended, and now everyone was taking pictures, toasting, eating the fancy snacks and sweets. Children ran around the space, with colorful balloons in their hands and faces lit up with joy. But in the corner near the cake table, there was a scene that stood out from all that joy. Lily remained kneeling, the soaked cleaning rag in her hands, the bucket beside her, and her eyes fixed on the freshly cleaned floor, her face flushed with shame, her cheeks burning, her heart pounding. She felt her back aching from bending over so much to clean. She felt the gaze of some relatives, the most gossipy, ones who always whispered about poor little Lily, and also the indifferent gaze of the majority. Most didn't even notice her presence, but her grandfather, Mr. Thompson's gaze was different. He stood there on the other side of the hall, his eyebrows furrowed, his jaw tense. Mr. Thompson was one of those old-fashioned men of few words, but what he saw he remembered, and what he didn't accept, he wouldn't tolerate. He always had a special affection for Lily. When she was born, he was the only one in the family who truly held her. He remembered his little granddaughter laughing before the difference in treatment became so blatant. But now that scene, that was the ultimate humiliation. Mr. Thompson crossed the hall with firm steps, dodging guests, scattered balloons, and running children. "Lily!" he called, his voice deep but low just for her. She looked up, startled, the rag still in her hands, her breath caught in her chest. "Come here, my granddaughter," he said, extending his hand. Lily hesitated. Her fear of disobeying her mother was greater, but her grandfather's gaze was firm, protective. For the first time that night, someone saw her, not as a maid, not as a nuisance, but as a child. Slowly, she stood up, dropping the cleaning rag to the side, her hands trembling, her gaze downcast. She followed her grandfather to a corner of the hall where he sat in a chair, away from curious eyes. "What's going on here, Lily?" he asked directly. She remained silent. She didn't know if she could tell him. Since childhood, she had learned that if she spoke up, the consequences at home would be worse. The scoldings, the harsh words, the punishments. But her grandfather insisted. "I saw you cleaning the floor while they sang Happy Birthday. I saw how your mother looked at you. I want to know what's happening." The tears came without her being able to stop them. They flowed slowly, warm, silent, wetting her pale, thin face. Mr. Thompson took a handkerchief from his pocket and gently wiped his granddaughter's face. "You can talk, my granddaughter. You're not alone," he said, his voice firm but full of tenderness. Lily took a deep, trembling breath. Mom doesn't like me," she whispered. "She only likes Ethan and Olivia. I'm only home to clean, to help. I don't have new clothes. I can't go to parties. I don't even appear in photos." Her grandfather closed his eyes for a moment, as if the words weighed heavily on his chest. "And your father?" he asked. "He doesn't say anything. He pretends I don't exist," Lily said, sobbing. "And when I complain, Mom says I just get in the way, that I should be grateful for having a place to sleep." Mr. Thompson looked at the floor, indignant. His blood boiled. He had always suspected how Sarah treated her daughter, but he never imagined it was so cruel. Meanwhile, on the other side of the hall, Sarah finally noticed what was happening. Seeing Lily sitting next to her grandfather, she ran towards them, her high heels clicking loudly on the floor, her expression irritated. "Dad, what are you doing?" she questioned, trying to maintain a smile for the guests, but her tone of voice already revealed her discomfort. "I'm talking to my granddaughter," he replied dryly, not bothering to hide his contempt for his daughter's behavior. Sarah knelt down, pulled Lily's arm forcefully, whispering through clenched teeth, "Go inside now. I told you not to show your face here, ruining other people's parties." Her grandfather stood up, his voice now loud enough for everyone to hear. "She's not going anywhere," he said, staring his daughter in the eyes. "And you can stop with this act, Sarah." The girl was kneeling, cleaning the floor in the middle of the birthday song. "Is this how you treat your own daughter?" The guests stopped. The hall fell silent for a few seconds. The aunts whispered. The cousins exchanged glances. Sarah's mask began to fall in front of everyone. "You don't know anything, Dad." She tried to justify, but her voice was already trembling. "This is just kid stuff. She likes to help." "Likes to help?" Her grandfather laughed bitterly. "She looks more like a maid than a daughter." Lily felt her heart pounding. She was terrified. But at the same time, a glimmer of hope emerged. Finally, someone was saying what she had always wanted to say. Sarah tried to disguise it. She smiled at the guests again, but the damage was done. Some relatives began to approach, curious, whispering, commenting on the scene. Mr. Thompson looked at Lily and said, "You won't live like this anymore. I'll take care of it, my granddaughter." Lily didn't understand what he meant, but for the first time, she believed. For the first time, she felt that maybe, just maybe, her story was about to change. After the discreet scandal at the party, things at home got even worse for Lily. When the guests left, the hall was empty, and the last balloons deflated on the floor. The silence weighed heavier than words. Sarah was furious, her cheeks red, her eyes burning with rage, her posture rigid. As soon as they arrived at the apartment, she slammed the door shut and unleashed words like daggers. "Congratulations, Lily. You managed to play the victim in front of everyone, ruined your brother's party, made me look bad. You must be proud, huh?" Lily cowered in the corner of the room, her body trembling. She knew it would be like this. She knew that even without doing anything but existing, she ended up paying the price. "I was just cleaning," she tried to explain. Her voice choked, fear etched on her face. Mark, her father, sat on the sofa, arms crossed, gaze downcast. As always, he preferred to hide in silence, pretending nothing was happening. It was easier that way. "Shut up, Lily," Sarah yelled, pointing her finger at her. "I don't want to hear your voice. You only cause trouble. If your grandfather hadn't stuck his nose where it doesn't belong, no one would have even noticed you. There, you just had to do what you know how to do. Clean, disappear, not show up." Lily felt tears stream down, her chest tight, her stomach churning, her face burning. But she knew that script. She knew that crying only fueled her mother's contempt. Olivia and Ethan were in their room, laughing, playing with their party gifts. For them, Lily was invisible. She wasn't a sister. She was just someone who lived in the house, someone who served, who cleaned, who was there, but never truly present. That night, Lily went into the laundry area where her makeshift bed awaited her. The old thin foam was even more worn. The tattered blanket didn't hide the cold, nor the pains she carried in her body and soul. She looked at the ceiling, trying to hold back her tears, but they fell silently. She remembered the scene in the hall, everyone singing "Happy Birthday," cameras recording the moment, photos being taken, and she, kneeling, cleaning the dirty floor as if she were a 7-year-old maid. But, unlike other times, her grandfather was there. He saw, he spoke, he promised. Would it be true? Would someone finally do something? The following days would answer that question. On Monday, Lily woke up early, as always. She had no uniform, no notebook, no backpack. She had never been enrolled in school, unlike her siblings who attended a private institution with transportation at their door, new materials, and teachers praising their performance. Sarah said Lily was still too young to study, but Lily knew it was a lie. She was already old enough. The real reason was different: contempt. While her siblings left for school with their colorful backpacks and full lunchboxes, Lily stayed home alone with the task of cleaning, organizing, and sometimes helping with tasks Sarah brought from the salon where she worked. But that morning, the intercom rang. Sarah answered impatiently. "Who?" "Oh, it's Dad. Okay, he can come up." Lily felt her heart race. Mr. Thompson, her grandfather, entered without much ceremony. He had a serious expression, his wrinkles even more pronounced, his eyes hard. But when he looked at Lily, his gaze softened. "I came here to resolve things," he said directly. Sarah crossed her arms impatiently. "Resolve what, Dad? You already embarrassed me on Saturday, already put on a show with Lily. What else do you want?" Mr. Thompson ignored his daughter's acidic tone, opened the folder he carried under his arm, and took out some papers. "This is an official request. I've already been to social services, I've already talked to a lawyer. From now on, this girl will study, she will have what is her right, and if necessary, I will raise her myself." The shock was immediate. Sarah's eyes widened, her face turning red. Mark, from the sofa, just shook his head, submissive as always. "Raise her? Are you crazy?" Sarah shrieked. "This girl is my daughter. It's not your problem." "Problem?" her grandfather repeated indignantly. "You call her a problem? You don't take care of her, you don't love her, you don't send her to school, you don't give her decent food. What do you think? That I'm going to stand by and watch you destroy her life?" Lily watched everything from the corner, her chest tight, her hands trembling. Sarah tried to argue, yell, justify, but her grandfather had already made up his mind, and he was stubborn, determined. When he set his mind to something, no one could make him back down. In the following days, Lily's life began to change, even if slowly. Mr. Thompson enrolled her in the local public school, bought simple but new school supplies, bought a uniform, and for the first time in her life, Lily held a backpack of her own. It wasn't colorful like her siblings. It wasn't a brand name, but it was hers. On the first day of school, fear took over. Lily couldn't read, write. She didn't know anything, but she was there in a classroom, sitting at a desk like the other children. On the way back, passing by the building where she lived, she saw Olivia and Ethan getting out of the school transport. They looked at her with contempt. Olivia laughed mockingly. "Where are you studying? At the poor kids' school?" she said, laughing loudly. Lily didn't answer. She just hugged her backpack to her chest and walked on. For the first time, she had what she always wanted, a chance. The contempt in the house continued. Sarah made her discomfort clear. Her father's silence continued like a sentence. Her siblings pretended. She didn't even exist, but Lily now had something no one there could take away: hope. Her grandfather followed closely, taking her to and from school, helping with homework, teaching her what he could. Little by little, Lily began to learn, to write, to express herself. But inside the house, she was still the child who wasn't invited, didn't participate in photos, didn't go to parties, wasn't called for family outings. But the difference now was that she no longer accepted the role of invisible, and deep down, she knew that the day everything would change was getting closer. Time passed, but inside that house, the cold didn't just come from the weather. It was the contempt. It was her father's empty gaze. It was Sarah's cutting silence. It was her siblings' constant mockery. Lily now studied thanks to her grandfather, but this, instead of improving the coexistence, seemed to have fueled her mother's anger even more. Sarah didn't accept that her father had interfered in her daughter's upbringing. In her mind, that was an affront, and Lily felt the weight of that fury every day. The punishments increased. The makeshift bed in the laundry area continued to be Lily's only allowed corner. Her clothes were the same worn-out ones, hastily sewn, meals only when there were leftovers. Meanwhile, Olivia paraded in new clothes, branded sneakers, phone in hand. Ethan was spoiled with toys, praise, and kisses. Lily was the ghost of the house. The situation dragged on, but outside, something within her began to blossom. At school, however simple it was, she felt like someone. She had her own materials, learned to read and write. She had classmates who treated her as an equal. Her grandfather, present as never before, followed everything. He went to meetings, helped with lessons, spoke of the importance of studying, but Sarah was becoming increasingly bitter. It was then that the day came that would expose the whole truth. It was Olivia's birthday, and as always, the house was decorated, guests were invited, the table full of sweets and snacks, the luxurious cake in the center. Lily was there, but she wasn't part of it. She had no new clothes, couldn't take photos, couldn't even get close to the building's party hall where the party was happening. "Don't you dare show your face out there," Sarah said firmly. "The shame you caused me at Ethan's party is enough." Lily, head down, retreated to the laundry area like a hidden prisoner. But that night, her grandfather, Mr. Thompson, appeared by surprise. He found Lily's absence strange. He asked Sarah, who dryly said, "She's sleeping. She doesn't need to participate. She doesn't even like these things." Mr. Thompson was suspicious. He searched the apartment, opened the laundry room door. There was Lily sitting on the cold floor, hugging her knees, her eyes welling up. "What are you doing here, my granddaughter?" he asked indignantly. She tried to hold back her tears, but it was in vain. "I can't go to the party. Mum doesn't want me to. She said I just ruin everything," she whispered, her voice faltering. Her grandfather felt his blood boil. It was too much. "Come with me," he said decisively, extending his hand. Lily hesitated, but his gaze was different. It was the gaze of someone who protects. He led her to the building's party hall, where the celebration was happening. Guests laughed, took photos, toasted. Sarah, seeing her father enter with Lily, turned pale, her face white, an expression of shock. "What do you think you're doing?" she whispered, furious, approaching them. Her grandfather didn't answer. He went up to the small stage where the DJ was, took the microphone, and the hall fell silent. Everyone looked on curiously. "Good evening, everyone," Mr. Thompson said with a firm voice. "Excuse me for interrupting, but I need to say something that's been stuck here." Sarah tried to pull him away in vain. "This one," he pointed to Lily, "is my granddaughter, and I am ashamed of how she is treated in this family." A murmur arose. Guests whispered. Sarah tried to intervene. "Dad, for heaven's sake," she whispered desperately. "Shut up, Sarah," he replied dryly. "I've been quiet for too long. I've seen this girl being humiliated, ignored, forgotten, while you made a point of showing off your other children as if she didn't exist." The relatives' faces were aghast. Some knew, others pretended not to know, but no one expected her grandfather to explode like that. "As of today," he continued, "I will take care of her, and if necessary, I will take her from your custody. I've already spoken with the lawyer, with social services. This girl is not trash. She's a person, she's a child, and she deserves respect." Lily felt her whole body tremble, her face wet with tears, but for the first time those tears were of relief, of someone finally breaking the silence. Sarah couldn't react. Mark, silent, coward, said nothing. Her grandfather got off the stage, took Lily's hand, and left the hall under everyone's gaze. That night, Lily didn't return to the laundry area. She went to her grandfather's house, where she found a real bed, warm food, and, most importantly, dignity. She knew there would still be battles, that her mother's contempt wouldn't disappear, that her father would remain passive. But something had changed. The silence was broken, and she was finally beginning to be seen. The following months were not easy, even away from her parents. Lily carried the invisible marks of what she had lived through, the humiliation, the contempt, the emptiness. All of this left deep scars that no hug could immediately heal. But day after day, Mr. Thompson showed her that life could be different. Her grandfather's house was simple, with peeling paint and old furniture, but it overflowed with something Lily had never felt: peace. There she had a real bed, clean clothes, food on the table, and most importantly, someone who asked how her day was, who looked her in the eyes, who listened to her. Mr. Thompson went above and beyond. Retired, with a modest income, He did the impossible to care for his granddaughter. He enrolled her in the neighborhood school, bought her school supplies, even if they were simple. Little by little, Lily began to learn what she had never been taught: to read, to write, to defend herself. But the past didn't leave her. At school, children whispered when they discovered that Lily had no birthday photos, that she had never participated in family parties, that she lived with her grandfather because her parents rejected her. But she stood firm. She knew that for the first time, she was getting a real chance. Meanwhile, on the other side of town, Sarah and Mark's charade began to crumble. After her grandfather's denunciation, social services began to monitor the family closely. Surprise visits, interviews with neighbors, reports from the sibling school, everything came to light. The contempt, negligence, and emotional abandonment Lily had suffered for years became clear. Sarah tried to play the victim, saying the girl was making things up, that her grandfather wanted to separate the family. But no one believed her anymore. Mark himself, under pressure, ended up admitting his omission. Shame fell upon the family like a heavy weight. Olivia and Ethan's parties lost their luster. Relatives who once flattered them now whispered behind their backs. The perfect image Sarah had built crumbled. Lily, on the other hand, took firm steps towards the future. With the encouragement of her grandfather and a sensitive teacher, she discovered a hidden talent: writing. She spent hours writing in old notebooks, recording her pain, her dreams, her memories. It was as if, through words, she could free what had been trapped for so long. At 14, the school principal, impressed with Lily's talent, entered her in a local literary contest. The theme, "My Story, My Voice." Lily hesitated. She was afraid, ashamed, insecure, but her grandfather insisted. "No one can take your voice, my granddaughter. They tried to silence you your whole life. Now it's your turn to speak," he said firmly. She wrote. Each word carried the pain, the abandonment, the scorn she had experienced. She told about her brother's birthday, when she cleaned the party floor while everyone sang "Happy Birthday." She told about the makeshift bed, about the photos she never appeared in, about the day her grandfather truly saw her. The text moved the judges, and Lily won the contest. The prize, a full scholarship to a private school in the city, an opportunity she never imagined she would have. On the day of the award ceremony, the auditorium was full of students, teachers, family members, and discreetly sitting in the back, Sarah and Mark. They had been invited by the school as legal guardians, but they didn't know that the winning text was their own daughter's. When Lily went up on stage, the shock was visible. Sarah paled. Mark lowered his head. Olivia and Ethan beside them looked disconcerted. Lily, with the certificate in her hands and the microphone before her, took a deep breath. Her heart pounded, but for the first time, shame didn't dominate her. It was pride. It was dignity. "For a long time," she began, her voice trembling but firm, "I believed I had no worth, that I didn't deserve love or respect, or a place in the family. I grew up being ignored, humiliated. Many times, while everyone sang happy birthday to my brother, I was kneeling, cleaning the floor, as if I were invisible." The auditorium fell silent, all eyes fixed on her. But someone saw me. Someone believed in me. And today, I am here to say that no one will erase me again. My story is not one of shame. It is one of overcoming. Applause filled the room. In the back of the audience, Sarah cried silently. Mark remained inert, but it was too late. There was no apology, no forced gesture that could erase what they had done. Lily knew that the pain of the past wouldn't disappear, but now she had something no one could take away. Dignity, a voice, a future. The scholarship opened doors. Lily continued her studies, wrote more, published a book inspired by her contest essay, telling her story. The title, "While Everyone Sang Happy Birthday, I Cleaned the Party Floor." The book traveled the country, moved readers, and became a symbol of struggle and resistance for children who, like her, were invisible within their own families. Years later, when interviewed on a TV show, she was asked if she forgave her parents. Lily thought for a moment. She smiled with the maturity of one who has triumphed. Forgive? Maybe one day. Forget? Never. Because what I lived shaped me, but now I know I'll never go back to the party floor. My place is standing tall with my head held high.